Hello everyone, welcome back. It is I, the guy, the channel guy, the guy who does the channel. It's me. I'm back. Once again, of course, to deliver a news update on my life. This just in, the screens still haven't been installed. Therefore, we are still in the closet. However, the air conditioner has been repaired, which means I'm no longer constantly in a state of near death. At least not because of the air conditioner. We have other reasons for that now. Ooh. Oh, shit. Okay. There we go. Gotta make sure that the power bank was plugged in, so that way we've got that. But here we are at the closet, about a day and an hour late, so we're 25 hours late for this one, everybody. But it doesn't matter, because eventually I got it done. Why didn't I do it yesterday? Oh yeah, I had to go fill out paperwork yesterday. Right. And so, it has been a fascinating week. I have secured additional employment, which is gonna be kind of rough. I'm gonna have to work for like 20 hours a day. That'll be great. That'll be fantastic. I'm going to have to work 40 hours I'm gonna have to work 40 hours over 2 days on like 4 hours sleep. Oh, I'm gonna have to do that for like 3 months. Oh, that's gonna suck. That is going to suck so bad. But it'll be fine. I only have to do that 3 to 4 times a week, which is to say 3 to 4 days out of the week. 3 months? Money. 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 Just plain and simple. Money. So that way, that way I can actually like meet the financial goals for this year. I'm a little bit behind on account of a few things. Namely the fucking apartment in Martinsville, and then, ironically enough, this apartment. So I'm a little bit behind, and the car damage, which I'm probably going to have to at least pay a little bit towards. So we're a little behind. So we'll get that squared away. It'll only take a few short months. Yeah, it'll only take a few like short, really painful months. Luckily, I'm working in a place that produces glass, so if I get too tired, I can just shove a piece of it into my body and wake up real quick. That'll be great. As for the other shit, well, as mentioned last time, with the whole role reversal in regards to the dank dungeon, I have begun to mitigate this. And therefore the role reversal is beginning to shift back into its normal. The dynamic is beginning to shift back into its normal flow, which is much more comfortable. Yeah, no, it's just a matter of time before things return to be as they should. That was so fucking butchered. Oh my god. Yeah, the odd audio distortion is the closet. It's because I'm doing this in the closet. So yeah, it's because it's the echo off of the closet walls that's causing that. Don't worry about it. It's just, once the screens get installed and then the smoke detectors are, uninstalled. Oh no, I hear that too. Uh-huh. was the power bank. Hold on. Huh. Yep, it's the power bank doing that. That's, huh. That's odd. Yeah, the power bank was causing the fizzing noise. I just needed to shut up for a second to be able to hear it. That's been fixed by unplugging the power bank. What the most good. That's been fixed by unplugging the power bank, which maybe I shouldn't use that power bank anymore. Which begs the question of, oh great, I'm gonna have to have my phone fully charged before every stream now, at least until the screens get installed. Because then once the screens are installed, I can just use my, desktop power cables in order to, keep my phone camera powered. And now the chat isn't working. No. Yeah, having the phone charged is not difficult. It's just a matter of remembering that. But once the screens get installed, then we can actually have like real streams again that aren't in a closet, among other things. Also, there is so much ash in here on the floor. It's unreal. We really are just gonna have to like sweep in here really good. Another thing to add to the to-do list. Never gonna happen. It'll eventually happen. It will eventually happen. As for that, yeah, I'm gonna have to look up what does a fizzing noise in my power bank mean? It's probably like, oh, that means your power bank is, from China and is going to explode when you least expect it. It's heard you say bad things about the CCP, and therefore the detonation device inside of it has been activated. The power level indicator is no longer just the power level indicator. It is also a countdown. When it hits 0, or when it hits 100, I guess the power bank will explode. And this is what I get for talking shit about the CCP at whatever point I did that. Thank you, power bank. At least it served me well in the short amount of time that it has served me. Yeah, not too long now. Not too long now until I'm going to be exceptionally busy working. Let me see. Let's see if it's. Hold on. It's gonna be. Let's see if it's 3 to 4. That's 36 to 48. Which, if you split the difference between those two things, that's 42 plus an average of like 35. I want to be working like 77 hours a week. It's just like Taco Bell and Domino's all over again. I mean, the knowledge of never being able to finish the Schweznold campaign, I am somewhat, well, I am somewhat saddened because that means that samurai testing is not going to be finished out, but that just means it's going to have to be put off. Which means that technically speaking, somebody else could test the rest of samurai and not me, which, kind of invalidates the whole point of me calling dibs, but fucking whatever, I guess. As for me being a contributor to that, yeah, it happens. It happens. But that's the price. That's the price for working night shift and interacting with a bunch of people who don't work night shift. Seriously, you guys could work first or second, and it wouldn't matter. Me working night shift fucks that whole thing up. So that's kind of just a natural consequence of that. And so that's something I learned a while ago, and I've kind of just grown to accept it. But we'll see. We'll see what kind of convoluted plot Wezzy comes up with in order to actually get this campaign finished out. Whether it's, all right, we're just gonna do the story individually. That would be so dumb, but that would all. But if that worked, if he could make that work, that would be amazing. That would be absolutely. That'd be absolutely crazy. Thinking about it, it would be insane if Wezzy pulled that off. Rocks fall, everyone dies. It's just, yeah, Wezzy did not enjoy the the candle blowing joke I made. So yeah, rocks fall from the ceiling, everybody dies, and campaign over. Rip Wezzy's storytelling. Maybe you'll get him next time, champ. You'll get him next time. You'll get him next time, champ. It'll be okay. Everybody's first campaign is usually a little rough around the edges, unless you're actually like reading from an official book, in which case, just read from a book and hopefully you don't get any challenging questions from your players. Because if you do and you're a newbie DM, God help you if you have to make a ruling, or you could just make rulings the way I did with my first campaign, where it's like, fuck it, I don't know what consequences are. Balancing, that's something I can deal with later, And then, Journey to the North was completely fucked by the end. That's what happens when you just flippantly give the players the, just like maximum use of extremely limited powers and also buff those powers and also just make it so that they can just vaporize any move they come across with no challenge whatsoever. And this was done on 5e, so it's, it's a lot easier to do that and a lot harder to balance the enemies without just straight up making them immune to shit, as is customary. I hate these things. More often than not, for me, they have a terrible draw. Oh well. Alright, let's get this wood off and then, I don't know, I'll ramble or something. Yeah, I was being somewhat hyperbolic when I said I hate them. I don't really. The price to smoke ratio is actually incredible on these things, which is what prevents them from drawing my full ire. The amount of price to smoking time ratio is just phenomenal. But yeah, my schedule is going to be changing. It's going to be getting a lot fuller for a little bit. But hey, having all that money will be great, except I won't have all that money until the end of July at minimum. And even then, I have to fix the fucking car. Oh, wait a minute. We ain't getting our dev goals done this year? Nonsense. Because let's see. July, August, September. We'll have 3 months to get them done. Which is plenty of time. We just have to actually, sit down and work during those 3 months to get them done.
We just have to. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, we didn't get them done last year. We had way more free time. That's because we fucked around too much. That's because we fucked around too much and we were too distant from each other. So, this time it'll be different. This time it'll be different. Because by the time October rolls around, I'll have just the right amount of free time and just the right amount of motivation. So it'll be fine. We just have to sit down during those last 3 months and just pound it all out because the goals that we aren't meeting are the tedious ones, the ones where we just have to sit there for hours and just pound out shit. That's why they're not getting done. We want to work on the exciting stuff like classes and foundational game of mechanics. We don't want to work on the tedious shit like what does this spell do? What does this feat do? You know? We want to work on the cool shit as opposed to the gigantic list of fucked up things that you can do to people and that people can also do to you, and some of them are also buffs and debuffs. We don't want to work on the big list and the other big list. We want to work on the cool shit that we're guaranteed to see all the time. And those are the goals that aren't being met. But it's fine. It's fine. Maybe right before I lose my freedom, I'll, pound out a couple hundred spells. Who knows? I doubt it, but, hey, wouldn't that be funny? Wouldn't that be funny if I did that? There'll be no freedom for like 3 months. It'll be great. No, it would be definitely, but I just doubt it will happen. I'm gonna have to find time for these streams. I'm sure I could figure that out. Yeah. Say that. Yeah. Losing my freedom to the Sisyphean task that is currency acquisition is it really sucks, but it's necessary. And whatever days I don't work both, because on the days where I work one and not the other, my free time will be spent on fucking sleeping, smoking, bathing, and eating, and laundry. Yeah, those will be the five. I'll be working on at least one of those 5 things at all times when I'm not at work. Unless I don't have to go to work at both jobs, in which case, like, fuck it, a free day? Let's, I'll get to play a game. Ooh. That'll be awesome. That'll be awesome. But just wait. Once I've got the money, that I'll have the money in my hand for a few days. At least after the first month, and then it will be gone as I pay for things and pay back things. And then at the end of the second month, I'll be able to have a little bit of it in my hand as the rest of it goes to paying for things and paying back things. And then by the end of the third month, I'll be able to keep a majority of it in my hand. Certain things won't need to be paid for anymore, and other things won't need to be paid back anymore. There's a couple of small loans that I will be getting rid of. You know, getting rid of one of those will make my dad happy because, he'll get a letter saying, hey, this has been paid off. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it anymore. It's like, there you go, Dad. 1 of 5, dead. I'll get another one next year. That and it'll just doing that will just reduce my monthly expenses because as I said last year, I'm kind of fucking tired of paying for this shit. My stupid ass has made this has made a handful of mistakes that led to me still paying for those things, and so now I have resorted to the most extreme measures, well, nearly the most extreme measures to just crush this shit and get rid of it forever, and that is. Yeah, and that is just I'm just going to have to accept that. We'll see how long I last. The idea is 3 months, but I might feel a little bit frisky after the immense dopamine hit of paying off a loan, and I might, after doing that, okay, hold on, I'll try and actually phrase that correctly. The idea is to only, do this insane work regimen for 3 months. However, after the immense dopamine hit of paying off a loan, I might feel a little frisky and do it for 3 more. After which, I'm pretty sure the, lack of sleep and, proper bodily maintenance regimens will just completely, will catch up with me and my sanity will be completely shattered due to a lack of sleep and, general and structure in my life outside of work. It will be fantastic. I will produce so many great campaign ideas as a result of that. However, I will be a broken man who can't do anything except, produce and type out ideas. Don't be any more of a fucking moron than normal. Well, you're just gonna have to remind future me of that in 3 months when I'm, high off of the joy of being just a little bit unshackled from the shackles of debts. Anyway, I guess I could fuck around with my spreadsheet and figure out a slightly more optimal way of, doing this that would not, completely decimate my mental state. Or I could, forget to do that and then, bada bing, bada boom, remember to do it later after I've been broken, and then call myself a fool once again. Truly, I'm a prophet because I know what's going to happen. Also, I just now noticed this, but where did the sleeve for this chair go? Ah. Oh, it's gone. Okay. Also, it doesn't seem to echo nearly as badly in here if I leave the door open. Huh. Oh yeah, it's gone. All right. That's awesome. I love that. Also, God stole it probably during that fucking rainstorm that appeared out of nowhere. That fucker. He always does shit like this. Damn you, God. Stealing my shit. You're all powerful. Get your own. So yeah, I guess in the interim, I'll just be left with my thoughts and, planning and, watching my soap opera and watching it as it becomes increasingly lamentable. Or not, actually, now that I remember, there is a turning point. So we'll see if my soap opera becomes like funny again instead of just depressing. I'm kind of hoping for some laughs. Something. Also, maybe if I just kind of watch, Taco Bell will fall apart around me, which would be really funny. It would be really funny, but that's just I would like to say that's a far-fetched hope. However, I think it's plausible. I think it's definitely plausible. You know, people are people are leaving out through that revolving door faster than they're coming in, and all right. And people are coming out faster. People are coming out of the revolving door faster than they're coming in, and the ones that are coming in are quickly leaving. So, the influx is negative. It is in fact an outflux. One might say an exodus that is continuing to gather speed. A tide of anger that motivates fleeing. Well, we could do the docket. We have all the right heroes. However, the problem with maintaining such a team is that we have no money. We have no money. There is no money. Ruin has come to our estate. We have no money. Because we'll go into a dungeon, spend it on provisions, come back, find out, yes, we have made negligible gains. Also, hey, look, a new hero. Let's spend money to fix them. And it's like, oh, hey, we don't have money anymore except for provisions. And then we go do that, and we come back, and it's like, all right, somebody's got like fucking schizophrenia, and somebody got herpes in that last run. Let's pay to fix that. Also, we don't have money for the necessary provisions anymore. This is gonna get rough. Ruin has come to our estate. It's quite something. First things first, we have to acquire the primary piece necessary to do antiquarian runs. That being the antiquarian. We're going to have to acquire an antiquarian first. Unfortunately, it seems that the stagecoach is not interested in granting us one, even with the upgrades that make it so that more here. We have one, do we? Yeah, shit. Okay. Well, I forgot. We are going to have to do some of those, which means we're going to have to go. We're going to have to go antiquarian, and then if we don't, we're going to have to figure out a team for that. Oh wait, we did. Or did I do that on my save file? I don't remember. Yeah, it doesn't matter. We'll figure it out. And then hopefully after like 2 dungeon runs, you won't be falling asleep on the couch, and then I have to sit there and go, Aiden, you said not to fall asleep on the furniture. Get up and go to bed. And once we do that, we'll have money. And then once we have money, we can basically just go ham doing whatever we want. Trinkets, purchased. Upgrades, done. Anyway, trinkets, purchased. Upgrades, done. Skills, trained. What else costs money? I don't know. We can purchase heirlooms with the one mod, so it's like heirlooms, purchased. More upgrades, done. Districts, completed. Shit like that will be awesome. This has such a difficult draw on it. And the problem is it's right here, right at the end. It's not going to get any looser until most of this is smoked down. Oh well, that's whatever, I guess. The dank. But yeah, I gotta run my save file in the dank dungeon so that way I can acquire knowledge. So that I can acquire a vast and arcane knowledge of, the mechanics of various bosses and things. And that will be quite good. But that'll be on my time, which I guess is growing increasingly, smaller, or it will be. It is only just on the horizon that there will be no time. But but after a short while, there will be money, which means that that'll be fine, I guess. God, I'm gonna be miserable, aren't I? At least 3 to 4 days. At 3 to 4 days out of the week, I'm going to be utterly miserable. God help me on those 3 in a row times, and God will love me on those 3 in a row days off. Hopefully, some of those can overlap. That would be nice. But whatever, it's fine. It'll be fine. It's just this is what's necessary to get things done. Oh, hold on, there was another comment in there I couldn't read. Well, you fucking, we went out, well, the grad program sucked because of the driving. The hour-long commute every day, well, the hour-long commute 5 days a week is what fucking blew. That was the worst part of that. The domino stuff wasn't so bad because it's just, and I could at least get like 3 hour naps in. Wait, I could get 2 naps in there that were roughly 8 hours combined. This is going to be stay awake for 2 days straight, or sometimes 3 days. That'll be awesome. Although I will probably try to manipulate day off time off time to make it so that I don't have to do that. But if I can't do it, then fuck me, I guess. So be it. So be it. The seed that I have planted will bear great fruits, and I'm then gonna to carry on the metaphor, going to sell those fruits to achieve various ends. It'll be great. The rush of excitement from of reducing my monthly expenses by virtue of dumping those fruits will be quite great. It will be fantastic, even. Well. Yeah, it's just come. We just reached a point where I need to just where I have set it up to just grit my teeth and do it, and then it's just a matter of gritting my teeth and doing it. Besides, I'll also fuck around with my spreadsheet and see if there's some funny things that can be done. Well, so I mean, That's pretty much how it is. That's pretty much how it was when I was working for, when I was, a pizza and a Taco Bell at the same time. It's just like, okay, you know what, this is working out slowly. I just need to keep at it for a little bit longer. And then, it kind of worked. Actually, now that I think it kind of worked. And then, and then things changed, which ended up being a net benefit despite the perceived drawbacks. And then after all that was said and done, I technically still came out somewhat on top. And then, the apartment people in Martinsville were like, hey, we're going to fuck you over now. And, that was awesome and great. But, so that's already been taken care of to where I don't have to think about it anymore. It's just a matter of taking care of other things so I don't have to think about it anymore. They'll get you every time. Fuck it, yeah, no, yeah, I guess it's just like, okay, make sure you read things a little more carefully, I guess. Whatever. I learned, valuable lesson learned. Valuable lesson learned. Uh, what did I learn from the experience? Well, I learned that I learned that the property managers of apartments can be seedy people who will relentlessly fuck you, if given the chance. Then again, I guess that's any like businessman, you know, any businessman that you sign a contract with, is somewhat banking on the fact that you won't pay attention to some term of the agreement, so that way they can fuck you relentlessly and make a quick buck out off of it. Although you know, so valuable lesson learned. However, that has been taken care of, so I don't have to worry about it anymore. And then whatever things will get better. It's just a matter of it's just a matter of doing the period of difficulty to get over a hurdle. I had trouble figuring out what word I wanted to use. It's just a matter of going through the period of difficulty to overcome the big hurdle, and then once the big hurdle is behind me, just just keeping watch on things to make sure that I don't inadvertently create another big hurdle that will then necessitate some kind of horrible thing for me to do in order to get over it. Which I think will be easy enough. Actually, I think it'll be quite easy now that I think about it. Hmm. It could be a lot worse. It could be a lot worse. I could, I could be fully fucking bankrupt. I mean, yeah, things are kind of tight, but it's still, I mean, even as things are presently, it's still doable. Things are kind of tight and not and things are only mildly unpleasant in terms of you know working. And things will be a little more than mildly unpleasant in the near future, but things can be a lot worse. Things could be a lot worse. I could be a lot more desperate, but I don't need to be. And it'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll In the end it will be fine. It's just the consequence of me being a dumbass. So, lesson learned, I guess. Uh, yeah. Just, yeah. I doubt I'll be as embittered as I was the last time I was working two jobs. Because, those, I think it was like it was like the first year streams where I did this, where first year smoking streams where I was just like angry and bitter all the time. I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty sure I'll just be tired, you know, pretty sure I'll be tired and then kind of pissed off because I'm tired, but I don't think I'll be like bitter, you know, because I remember, generally the contents. Yeah, probably, which will make the whole ordeal go by faster, which is great. But I don't think I'm going to be so bitter this time. I think I'll just be more tired, which is fine. I could sleep that off. Quite literally, I could sleep it off. So that'll be fine. It's just a matter of also finding time to do these streams. They're probably going to be a little inconsistent. And it'll be a day shift schedule, which means, once we just divert to only that, I can be a normal person. Huzzah! That'll be great. If I need to run an errand, I won't need to, fucking rush to run them, you know. Or else, oh, well, I guess you gotta put it off for another, I guess you gotta put it off for another fucking week, you know. I can actually just go, okay, all right, I can do one errand today and one errand tomorrow and then one more in a couple days instead of just like stacking them all onto, 1 2 hour period, just to rush and get everything done. It'll be magnificent. It will be magnificent. That, and I can actually have like, a regular schedule that permits interaction with regular people, provided I would desire that, which, yeah. I work food service. I hate everyone. The natural consequence of food service is just a horrible hatred for humanity that blossoms within you and just stays there. I'm pretty sure it will stay there for all time. I will always remember the Taco Bell experience, and it will fill me with just it'll keep the hate strong. I can tell you what though, I'm pretty sure after all said and done, like I already don't go to restaurants. I definitely won't go to restaurants afterwards. I'm not going to become a contributor to the problem that I complain about. And so therefore, the and so therefore, partaking of restaurant food will become an extreme rarity that probably won't even enjoy when it does happen. So, that's just another consequence of, the food service worker experience. You know, at least for those of us who, really, really, really just stick to the principle of I will not become the problem, that I will not become the person that I hate and bitch about all the time. You know, you're gonna act like, well, okay, yeah, yeah. I'm not gonna be an asshat because you know I've been there. Well, more like I am there, I guess. I'm not gonna be an asshat, but also just my general view on it is, just. Then again, now that I think about it, I guess I am kind of an oddball because a lot of the people that I've worked with over the years have a lot of the people that I've worked with over the years have expressed a, we'll just call it a distaste, rather, we'll say, for slow days at work. Because I'm pretty sure people with regular jobs, or I guess with people with jobs outside of food service, like slow days at work because, it's a slow day at work. Meanwhile, a lot of the people that I have worked with, both in terms of pizza and at Taco Bell, have expressed a distaste for slow days. I forgot where I was going with this. Oh, I remember now. Yeah, so a lot of people I've worked with don't like slow days, but I do, just unconditionally. I love it when I'm experiencing a slow day. The time doesn't go by slower for me as a majority of the people that have worked with over the years have expressed. The time goes by about roughly the same. It feels like it goes by at roughly the same speed. So I don't experience that issue. And so, the idea, at least from my perspective, is, by not by just full on not partaking of restaurant food at all, you know, maybe I'm making somebody's slow day a lot better. I'm definitely making their busy day a lot better by just not being there, you know? Maybe I'm making someone's slow day better. I don't know, but I'm definitely making someone's busy day a lot easier. Uh, I jumped through a lot of hoops to not go just to justify. Yeah, maybe. There is also, of course, the monetary incentive of not going to a restaurant. Because prices for everything are just going up and up and up, and this definitely applies to restaurants of all kinds, you know, not just the what once were the cheapest and fastest options. Yeah, no, I'm just not going to at all. I just full on no. I just, it's just not an enjoyable experience. Even going occasionally like I do, it's just not an enjoyable experience. I mean, yeah, the food is good typically, but I just don't enjoy the experience. It's more, and it's just one. It's kind of like how I basically ate nothing but sandwiches in high school, and so only now, after about 10 years, do I find it okay. It's the majority. It's the biggest part of the experience, but there's more parts to it, such as the atmosphere of the restaurant, the choice of restaurant, the busy, well, I guess the busyness of it is part of the atmosphere. I'm not explaining this well at all. That's because I'm kind of tired. But the point is, maybe after some time away from the industry, I can find the experience enjoyable again. But as of right now, I just do not enjoy it at all. It's, you know, because my thoughts always drift back to like, oh yeah, no, yeah, I hate customers, and then becoming one in any capacity is just, you know, yeah, I feel a disgust with myself about it. I know it sounds dumb. I know it sounds dumb. It sounds really stupid. But but just put simply, I don't enjoy it. not just at all, and that's why I'm going to be avoiding it. You know, I just that and that I'm kind of going back on one of those kicks where it's just like eating sucks, and I only do it because I have to. Uh, Much nicer. Hold on, I gotta actually read this one. It is much nicer not have these shit. Oh yeah, completely. You know, yeah, I can. Yeah, that's that is definitely a consideration. That for the most part, the places that I'll be going to I don't have to put up with, you know, I don't have to put up with the pigs. It's I've kind I've realized that I have kind of sort of fallen into the trap of all restaurants are the same, which you know isn't true at all. A sit down restaurant, on the employee side is much different than a fast food place in terms of the kit. I imagine the kitchen atmosphere is different. I've not actually worked at a sit down place. But on the customer side, it is different, and I imagine that on the back end, on the employee side, it's also different. But my mindset is just kind of turned to, well, there's enough similarities that whatever. uh, I just don't want to. I'm just so turned off to it. The mental bear trap. Yeah, well, I mean, much like a real bear trap, it's easier said than done. Much like a real bear trap, it's much easier said than done to escape. And I think the primary thing that's going to assist with that escape is just going to be, yeah, the primary thing that's going to help escape from this bear trap is just time away. Is just straight up time away from it all. From either side of it. Just kind of step away from it. Don't go near it, and that'll be what I use to get out of the bear traps. Like, okay, it's been a little while. Let's give this another try. Let's give this a try and see if I find it to be a little bit more enjoyable. And if yes, well, there's nothing wrong with a treat here and there. Just I'm not going to become like the Honda people. Definitely not under any circumstance. That's a colossal waste of money. Holy shit. Um, you know, but yeah, like I said, the primary thing here is just time away from it all. Just do not engage with it whatsoever, and then after a little while, dip a toe in the water, see how do I feel about that, and then go from there. Which I guess the two outcomes of that are oh, well, didn't enjoy that, step away for a little bit, and repeat step one, repeat the previous step, or two, which is like, oh, that wasn't so bad. I guess I could get back into this a little bit. On customer side, that is, I'm not gonna fucking work at another goddamn restaurant. Ugh. That's definitely a consequences. Once I get out, I'm out. I will be desperate in staying out if things go south for whatever reason. You know. But whatever. Uh, we have to get there first. I mean, we'll arrive there just by virtue of time will pass. You know, we have to get there first, and we'll see what happens. That being said, a thought just occurred to me. That being said, is this year in comparison to last year and the year before, it's not too bad. I realize we're only about halfway through, which is might be a bit presumptuous to say that this year has been better than the last two, but at least I didn't make the mistake of at least I didn't make the mistake this year of thinking, oh, this might be my year, like I did the last 2 years. You know. We're aiming for this year was better than the last two, as opposed to, yeah, this is my year. I'm not gonna be foolish like that and think that, because fuck, it seems like me thinking that has been some kind of trigger for God to go, oh ho ho, yeah, you think this is your year? Time to fuck that up. Damn you, God. Then again, I guess God sends his hardest trials to his strongest soldiers. Oh, good. Yeah, God sends his hardest trials to his strongest soldiers, and whether they succeed or not, you know, some kind of growth occurs. And then again, I imagine the growth is a lot better when you actually succeed the trial as opposed to failing it. But then again, I guess, maybe also, failure is a better teacher than success. I don't know. I have no I don't know. Something like that. Ugh. Uh, well. Oh well. Maybe by this time next year, I can finally do something that I haven't been able to do for a long time. Take a vacation. And by take a vacation, I mean like not go to work. Because most people, when you say, "Oh, I'm going on a vacation," that imply, usually when you ask them, "Oh yeah," you know, what are you gonna do? And they usually say, "Oh, I'm gonna go to insert place here." You know, there's a destination for a vacation in most people's mind. Yeah, probably. But for most people, when they say, "Oh, I'm going on vacation," there's a destination involved. But for me, what a vacation is just simply not working and just kind of doing whatever I want, because I do not enjoy traveling. You know, I guess I made the mistake of driving to New Hampshire a few years ago, and that has just made it so that I just hate traveling. I mean, short distances, that doesn't bother me. That's fine. It's whatever. But anything that's like more than an hour, just more than an hour one way, I should say, just fills me with just horrible dread. That's why if somebody, it's why on the off chance, on the extremely small chance that somebody tries to rope me into going somewhere on a vacation, it'll just be a flat refusal every time. Just no. No, thank you. I don't want to. You know. I guess that's one of the few benefits of not really having friends. Ugh, thank God. I guess this is one of the this is one of the it's one of the smaller benefits of not having any not really having any friends. I don't have to worry about that, and not having family that like overly engages with me, is I don't have to be pulled into that kind of stuff. Oh. This reminds me. This reminds me of the time when I was working here. When I was working here at my pizza job, 2 years ago, and my sister came through to pick up an order. Of course, hey, what's going on? That kind of thing. And right before she left, she said to me, "Oh, if you need anything, don't ask." I was like, the only thing I need is a vacation. And she asked me something to the variety of, "Oh, where would you want to go?" And my response was, "Oh, I don't want to go anywhere. I just want to not go to work." And that got a laugh out of both of us. Because yeah, it got a laugh out of both of us. Not because I was joking. I wasn't. It's just I've been at a point of burnout for so long that it's just not working is just enough for me. Uh, but then again, I guess there are a number of people that I've met over the years who, you know, I think would agree with that sentiment. You know, one person who comes to mind who's like that is Dan the boy. He's the kind of guy who would 100%, you know, who would 100% agree with that kind of sentiment. Just like, oh yeah, not go, just oh, your ideal vacation is simply not going to work. Hell yeah, brother, me too. You know. Maybe someday. Maybe someday. Well, yeah, no. Wait, what is kind of nice? Just the idea of not going to work, or like traveling somewhere for a vacation, or I guess both, really. But you know, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Second, perhaps, perhaps, yeah. The you know the I guess part of it is just I do not. Well, no, what am I trying to say here? What am I trying to say here? Let me think. I get working in the the areas that I've worked, food service and my time in Seymour, you know, doing the therapy stuff. Just doing that has just revealed to me, that it's just I just don't enjoy. I just simply do not enjoy extended like interaction with people. And what extended means changes depending on who I'm interacting with. For example, interacting with customers at my job is just not really something that I have. I just don't have a battery for that at all. I just despise it. But meanwhile, interacting with people that I know, just just has there's just a length. It's not necessarily predetermined. It's a range of time where I just stop enjoying the interaction and need a recharge. It's like I said in a handful of other streams, where I'm pretty sure my social battery is just so dead that no amount of recharging is going to fix it. I could be dead wrong about that, but that's just my perception. That has been my perception for a number of years. It's just, you know, because I'm not really a big fan of meeting new people. And I have I have a wellspring of evidence for I have a wellspring of reason to not do so. You know, which is kind of funny. Uh, yeah, it is. We'll see. We just gotta kind of see what happens. You know, maybe one day. Maybe one day. Once I have put in the effort to make things better and things actually get better. You know, marginally, maybe my perspective will change. And maybe then I'll be interested in cultivating friendships and whatnot. But at present, fuck no. At present, fuck no. Ugh. Hmm. Maybe someday. Maybe a few maybe if maybe it's possible I get a few vacations in. Who knows? But maybe it's possible I get a few vacations in. I actually have some recharge time, and maybe that perspective will change. But at present, it's just a hard no. I think a few years down the line, I think a few years down the line, if I were to interact with my stepbrothers again, and they go, "Oh, hey, how's life been?" And then I kind of give them a summarized recap of how things have been, like, "Oh, things are all right." Now that I'm out of the shitty portion, now that I'm out of the shitty portion of my life, some of the lifestyle habits that I've developed will just make them think that I've just gone completely insane. They'll be like, "Oh, what do you do? When you're not working?" And depending on when this interaction occurs, I might say, "Oh, not," I mean, either way, I'll probably say, "Oh, not much." I'll be like, "Well, I don't really go anywhere, and I don't really do anything." And, they're probably gonna think like, "What do you mean? Why not?" It's like, because I just don't want to. It'll be difficult. It'll be difficult to explain to them because my stepbrothers are quite a bit different than I am. All four of them. I mean, shit. Explaining that to my actual siblings is going to be tough. You know. Uh, then again, I guess I actually have to interact with my actual siblings, which, the first barrier to that is the schedule differences. They have normal day shift schedules. You know, they work their 9 to 5s or whatever it is. The majority of them, siblings and step siblings, all have kids and significant others. I don't have either of those. So yeah, I'm just going to look like some kind of mad hermit. And I can, I can hear it now. I can hear it now, like 5 years down the line, you know, for I say some of the I just rattle some of this shit off to like my dad or something. I can just hear him. I can just hear him, you know, I could just hear him saying something, but restraining the urge to say more. And then, naturally, of course, I'm going to go, I'm going to pick up on that and go, oh no, you want to say more. I know you do. Go ahead and say it. And then I'm going to hear something about, like, I'm going to hear something. And it's like, okay, yeah, Dad, you might be right. You might be right. But I just don't want to. Ugh. Okay, so I can already tell that I can already tell that if I were to have this conversation with my dad where it's like, oh yeah, my ideal vacation is simply not going to work. I can hear him clearly. I can clearly hear him saying something. Well, there's more to life than working. And it's like, yeah, yes, there is, Dad. I agree with you that there is more to life than working. But I don't care for it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't care for working either. I do it, I work because because I have to pay the bills. Because I have to have an income to pay the bills. But like I don't enjoy going out. You know, I don't I don't enjoy I don't enjoy me I don't enjoy socializing with strangers. You know, and so it's just like, yeah, there's more to life, but I don't care for it all. You know, if I you know I'm pretty sure if I just had if in under ideal circumstances, those being I don't have to work and just have like free reign to do whatever I want, I'd probably just you know I'd probably just be here. You know, I'd probably just be here like playing games, watching shows, having a smoke. You know, and that would be about it. You know, which I understand to a lot of people just sounds like it's just that sounds just like terrible and empty, but fuck, that sounds amazing. You know, and that's why I tell people like, look, guys, I've done the math. If $2 million buys me 30 years of never interacting with another human being ever again, and that's why that's the goal. You know, retire with retire with enough money to just live out, not working, and never interacting with another human being ever again. People are like, oh, there's more to life than what you've experienced. Yeah, I don't care anymore. Not yeah, I know it's not gonna happen, but fuck, what's the phrase? What's the phrase? Shoot for the moon, and when you miss, you end up amongst the stars, or something like that. You know, it's, the goal is there, and the goal is what I'm aiming for, and I understand that there's a high likelihood that I'll miss the goal. But depending on how far off. Yeah, depending on how far off I am from actually hitting the target, I might just cave and say close enough. I mean, shit, if if some kind of like, divine miracle occurs and I can actually, I can actually hit the target, fuck yeah. But, you know, if I get close enough, whatever that ends up being, at that far point in the future, then the fuck it, it's close enough, you know? Yeah, yeah, and when I say that, never interact with another human being again, that is me being just a little bit hyperbolic. I do understand that, yeah, I'm gonna have to interact with people. You know, I get that. And so the whole never interact with another human being thing is definitely unrealistic. And so the threshold for close enough for that is pretty lenient, I'd say. Uh, the idea is the primary thing for that though is just simply, you know, the primary thing for that is just simply not having some kind of forced interaction every day. You know, having the freedom to having the freedom to exercise control over engagements is really what I'm after. Which, I mean, shit. You know, I think moving into this new job, once I can move into it and only it, is going to be, uh, is going to help facilitate that quite a bit, because I doubt that I'll, excuse me, I doubt that I'll, get into conflict with my coworkers. We're all there to do the work, and you know, whatever. You know. Yeah. Yes, what I say is, what I say is, oh yeah, I never want to interact with another human being again. What I mean when I say that is, I want to have, I want to have a maximum possible control over my engagements with people, so as to, maybe potentially facilitate a rebirth of a social battery. You know, because let's face it, the social battery is fucking dead. You know, so what I want is just, what I want is the ability to just control it, have my freedom of engagement and exercise that freedom to allow for the rebirth of the social battery. Because I do not genuinely believe that the battery will not come back. I just think it's going to take a lot of time for it to happen. you know and I need to be able to, for lack of a better term, buy that time. because sometimes I do reach out to people and engage with them. It's extremely rare, but it is something that happens on occasion. And I think with with enough time to myself to kind of just do what I want solo. Eventually, what'll happen is, I'll do that for long enough to where it's like, okay, all right, all right, I've had my time by myself. Let's see what other people are up to, and see if they want to engage. Maybe not. You know, we'll see. But I gotta I gotta get into that position first. I gotta arrive at that destination first, and then we'll see what happens from it. It's just gonna take a while. I mean, shit. It might not even take as nearly as much time as I'm thinking, but I have to, you know, I gotta get things set up first and then execute the plan. Gotta execute my master plan. And then after the master plan is executed, it's probably just gonna be largely like improv from there, which I don't have a problem with. I can do that. I can think on my feet. You know, I can think on the day to day just fine. We gotta get there. We gotta get to that point first. These 3 months, yeah, pretty much. These on it, yeah. We gotta get through these 3 months, and then you know, get something, kind of figure. Get a. We'll have the routine that I get into for the 3 months, and then the routine will change after that, and then I think after that is when it will really settle. I think that's when I think that's when it'll really settle. And I can get into a routine that I keep for like a decade or whatever, and then there'll be some small shifts in that as opposed to these bigger shifts that'll be happening over the course of this year. you know, it's the it's the thing that I imagine a lot of people tell themselves is, I just gotta get through this. And then then the next thing happens, and it's just like I just gotta get through this. Eventually it'll get to a point where it's like, okay, I've gotten through this. What's the next thing I gotta get through? And hopefully it'll be, you know, hopefully by then things will have gotten a lot better. So the thing that I have to go through is, a lot smaller, a lot more palatable. Met with, a lot less dread, if any at all. But we'll see. We'll see. It's just a matter of, again, executing the master plan. Precisely. All I can do is sit here and like predict, think about it. You know, think about, okay, based on what I know about myself, based on this and that and blah, yada yada yada. I think this is how it's going to turn out. And then once the amount of time has passed, it's just a matter of like, okay, now how many of what part of my predictions came true, which ones didn't, and then how do we go forward from there. uh, the hard part's just get it. The hard part is getting there. You know, setup is easy. Setup is easy. Execution is the hard part. You know, and sustained execution is sustained execution has a difficulty relative to how long it needs to be sustained. But we'll get there eventually, hopefully. Well, no, we'll get there. I mean, shit, if it's this is kind of some might view this as an issue with how I go about doing things. That issue being my view on it is everything else be damned, I will get it done. Everything else be damned, I get it done. Once I actually get this, once I get the plan down and actually get the setup done. And yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Just I mean the easy way is tempting, but usually comes with a litany of problems that it might be exaggerated, perhaps, but just are not palatable to me at all. And so, and so just to not have to think about those issues, I just go, everything else be damned. I'll do it this way. You know, much to the detriment of much to detriment. So you know. You know, I do know that I can be rather hard-headed about the methodologies that I employ. This way I get to have fun. Yeah, this way I'll be suffering. You know, but once to return to a previous metaphor, once the seed grows and the fruits are there, oh, it's gonna be fantastic. Oh yeah, no, yeah, you know, growing up around my family, stubbornness just comes naturally. The you have to when it comes to when it comes to when it comes to interactions with my dad's family and stuff like that, in order to in order to you have to have you have to have a force of will about you when it comes to just well, I mean, you have to have a force of will about you in order to get anything done, just in general. Uh, However, growing up around my dad's family, it was somewhat ingrained that, you know, I've kind of picked up being a little bit excessive with that force of will, you know. And a consequence of that is, well, I'll just do what, a consequence of that is I come up with a plan. The plan has obvious problems and I'm aware of them. However, it's the plan I came up with, and so I'm just gonna go with that. And you know, there will be objections, but I don't care. This is the plan that I came up with. This is what I've decided on, and this is what I'm going to go with. Everything else be damned. what's kind of funny is I was thinking about what I was going to talk about this stream, and partially, for part of the stream, I didn't really, touch on it at all. However, as a result of, as a result of just kind of speaking, I've kind of come around to what I originally planned to, to speak on. It's like, well, here's the plan. It's gonna fucking suck, but here we, this is what I've decided. You know, yeah, well, hey, you provide entertainment to me, and I provide it in turn, it seems. I don't think it's an equal amount of entertainment, but it's still there. You know. So, you know, cheers to that, I guess. Yeah, you know what? I think I'm definitely gonna fuck with the spreadsheet a little bit. Fuck with my spreadsheet. Start planning again for the aftermath of the suffering period. What shape things are going to take after that point. You know, we both, yeah, well, we suffer in different ways. You know, we suffer in different ways, and what's the phrase? Uh, what is the phrase? Oh, there's the AC going on. So, what's the phrase? The phrase is like, oh, the grass is greener on the other side. It doesn't quite apply here, but I guess a more appropriate metaphor is, you know, looking over the fence. I see something that's different from what I have, and I go, there's parts of that are nice, and there's other parts of it that I see where it's like, ooh, that kind of sucks. And it seems like the same thing happens on the other side too. You peer over and you go, huh, some of that is all right. Some of that is also not. Some of that I don't envy. You know. Yeah. Yeah. What time is it? Let's take a look. What time is it? Ooh, shit. Okay, I didn't even look at the time. Oh, it's almost 10 o'clock. Yeah, okay. Another halfie to add to the collection for later. Ugh. Yeah. Anyway, I think I've sat here long enough. I do need to get a little bit of sleep in before I gotta get up and do stuff. So thanks for tuning in. Shit. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see what the schedule turns into, and until next time, later.